What a sophisticated system for enemy path creation. It seems to choose a random tile amount to enlarge itself to vertically, then horizontally, then vertically again, until it reaches all the way down to the very bottom tiles. There even seems to be directional arrows employed to signify the direction which the enemies will be going in. Oh, and when you hover over trees, they get a white outline. Such an interesting concept. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that anywhere else. And the chopping animation, so complicated and definitely not always the same no matter what it is you're destroying. Wow, an inventory system, durability system, crafting system, so many systems. It's like I'm a system we love in you. Oh, I wanted to craft that furnace actually, but it seems like the recipe of a furnace just ate my eggs up. That also some kind of an elaborate feature. These square-shaped iron core thingies look like some sort of gizmos. Clearly this one has an arrow, which naturally means it should come alive and start moving in a direction it's pointing in once I press the start wave button. Oh, nothing seems to have worked. I wonder why that is. I wonder if this story is about to rewind itself to the very beginning and explain all the questions away. So there I am, at my computer, playing a game that barely has any gameplay when an idea strikes my brainstem. What would a game look like which combines the automation aspect of Factorio with the tower defense aspect of Bloons TD? I got to brainstorming, which I'll visualize for you on this whiteboard. There's a grid, because of course there's always a grid, and on this grid are tiles which the enemy moves on. There's a starting tile and an ending tile. If the enemy makes it all the way to the last tile, you take damage. There's also structures on the tiles. There are trees, rocks and minerals. Now the alignment and the number of these structures is always randomized. There's an inventory where you have wooden tools. During each of your playthroughs, you need to harvest and collect different materials provided, which you use to craft new tools and what I like to call machines. Now there's two categories of machines. First, there's a support or secondary machines. These are the machines which in their own unique way interact with the primary machines. The primary machines are ones which can interact with the environment around them and the enemies. Right now in the supporting machines category, there's a mover which can move both secondary and primary machines. There's a delayer which can delay both primary and secondary machines, for example the mover. There's a rotator which can rotate both categories of machines. And probably the most important machine, the middleman of sorts, the activator. Every single primary machine is powerless unless the activator is placed on one of the adjacent tiles surrounding them. Please note, class, that the activator can be moved by the mover, but the rotator and the delayer have no effect on it. This definitely will be on the test tomorrow, so Now to kick things off with the primary machines, there's a sandsaw. But before we go into detail about the sandsaw, let's discuss the nature of primary machines. Every primary machine is split into its body and its arms. When you craft one of these machines and place it down, the body of it will be placed on the tile of your choosing, but the arm will be spawned on a random side of the body. The primary machines come with only a single arm, but you can craft a gear with 5 pieces of smelted iron ore, which you can use to upgrade your primary machines, adding yet another arm to a random side. Please note that upon your destruction of a primary machine, you won't get any of the gears you spent on it back. The machine will always default back to having only a single arm upon your replacement of them. Now onto their relationship with the secondaries. You probably have guessed that the movers, upon colliding with the primaries, push them along the direction of their initial movement. The delayer delays whatever it is that the primary does for a single tick. The activator, as we already discussed, powers the primaries up, but the rotator is where things get interesting. There is a common misconception that rotators physically move the primary's body around in a rotation, but no, actually the change only occurs with the arms. The arms go on a rotation. Okay, now let's explain the individual abilities of the current 3 primary machines. Let's continue with the sandsaw. The sandsaw has blades for its arms, which can destroy structures like trees or rocks, and also can attack enemies. Then there's a claw machine, which simply has the ability to grab any item which its claws come across. And lastly we have the shooter. Now a shooter can shoot out anything it gets provided with. Now that we are all caught up with the machines, let's put them all into action. What do you think would happen with this kind of an alignment? Let's go from left to right. The Sanso would get powered up and its arm rotated over to the rock. Then it would get mined, rock dropping in its place. The activator next to the claw machine would activate it, making it grab the dropped rock. In the background, this mover would get rotated until it was pointed downwards. It would come down moving and move the claw machine one tile down, where it would be outside of the activated range and in the range of the rotator, rotating the arm to be placed over the shooter. The activation would make the claw also loosen up, dropping the rock onto the shooter which would be activated because of the activator next to it, shooting the rock right at the enemy stool in front of it. Any further questions? Then that should conclude this lesson. Where should I begin though? I remember vividly the first thing which I did. I was sitting at my desk, peering over my surroundings, until I caught a glimpse of three things. First, my retro digital camera. Second, a bunch of markers. And third, a notebook. There it was, the solution. I would draw the assets inside the notebook with the markers and take a picture of them with my camera and transfer them into the computer with an SD card adapter. Simple stuff. So I did just that, and it looked like something a kindergarten would make. So I folded real quick and went with the indie developer classic pixel art. The first thing I implemented was a logic for the randomized enemy path generation. And I can tell you how I did it or what I wrote, but that's like really boring, so I won't do that. I'll point out that the randomness is by default, but it doesn't mean I can't tamper with it to make custom paths. One of my favorites is the stairs. I don't know what to call this one, but I like this one too. And the vertical straight line. Also, we can totally have like multiple lines as well, which I promise definitely doesn't fuck up the tiles where the paths overlap. Looks cool though, you know. Now let's do right by Mother Nature and plant some trees. Just to chop them down later, of course, to use in industrialization. You can't know if you don't try. You act so calm with your alibi. Well, this is also when the path tiles get their iconic look with the arrows, and where things get rocky as well. You know, I'm glossing over a lot of shit. The development process was actually pretty traumatic. Let me just tell you, it took surprisingly long for me to get trees to spawn correctly. There was a lot of smooshiness and half-cutness. Then I did inventory, outlines, an axe and a pickaxe, and destroying trees instantly. Then after a few hits, and after that I think the most underrated feature, the info menu. It's like Clippy, you know, just a friendly guy. It says dormant until you require some information. Then it pops up and tells you how much health the trees have. And it updates in real time. Truly mind-boggling. At this point I must have found this game too stiff and rigid, cause I experimented with some chopping animations. There were some questionable iterations. I chose to have the structure, which is getting destroyed, animate instead. The way I did this is by getting the structure to tilt left then right constantly, but each time with a randomized degrees. So you know, it's sort of like a procedural animation. What else? Boring. Okay, I did some technical stuff with the inventory and added some items. I did logs, rocks, workbench, stone tools, iron tools, the furnace, a gear, the secondary machines, the primary machines, sapling, dry iron, smelted iron, added crafting, smelting. I basically kept distracting myself with the survival aspect of the game because I knew that soon I would have to work on the machines. Luckily, my code was anything but intact, so I kept finding cool exploits like this one. If you're not sure what's going on, the game is essentially treating the crafting recipes as if they were physical items placed on one of the ground tiles. So after I picked them up, they get replaced with an actual ground tile where I can place any items I please. There were a lot of this kind of bugs which I would fix, but I knew at some point I had to add that start wave button, which would kickstart all my turmoil and final stage of cancer. The first machine I approached was a mover. It wasn't too difficult to get it up and running, but after the mover, after I approached the others, I found myself taking shortcuts. I couldn't get them to work with every machine, so I thought, what if all the secondary machines were actually third-rate machines, and they were all in support of the mover. And I did get them to function in relation to the mover, but there still was a glaring flaw with the mover itself. I got it to move other machines around, but take a look at this scenario. When one mover moves the other, it doesn't get saved anywhere, so the moved mover doesn't realize that it's been moved, so it resumes moving in the direction it already was moving in. I am never saying the word move again. After this bug, I would try to pretend everything was okay and just mess around with the mover without having it push machines. I found this cool feature, or maybe bug. If you put anything in front of a moving mover, it pauses its movement until you remove the obstruction. I thought this was really awesome. You know, like you can build systems, machines where your live input actually changes things around. But still, I couldn't ignore the problem with the mover, so I tried to fix it. I'd open the codebase and for the whole day just tried to fix the mover, but I just couldn't. I think just being focused on this one thing and never being able to complete it, that's what really burned me out, because I gave up on the mover. I gave up on probably the most important aspect of the game. All I just did was make the sprite of the enemy puff tiles resemble water, and I just moved on. Maybe I didn't realize, maybe I even called it taking a break from it. But I subconsciously made a choice. I made this yet another game in a long list of other games I gave up on. I did other things with my life. I started exercising, I even wrote a fucking book and took up skateboarding. And throughout all that, not even once did I think about alien monkeys. Well, I guess until today. I threw this script together in just a few hours actually. I can't work on this game anymore, but it took over my life for a month. I wanted to at least encapsulate that time with this video. I love making games, but I'm really bad at it. I don't know what to do about it. I kinda hate myself. I've never been able to see anything through till the end. I ponder a lot about what such an accomplishment would make me feel like. Would I feel complete? Would I feel less empty? Or would I stay the same? I just don't know. If you like the idea of alien monkeys, take it and make it. You don't need my blessing, but you have it. I'll put a link to the source code just in case anyone wants to look at it or try the game in its current unfinished form. I'm gonna go now. Thank you so much for watching and I wish you a lovely day.